Alright. Hey guys, I'm Weather from the Summer School Discord, and I'm going to be walking through this game to follow the support Thresh. Um, and like always, at the start of the game, I'm going to go over some win conditions. Win conditions is something everyone needs to focus on. It tells you where you need to play your strengths, to play towards these strengths, and what the enemy team is going to be doing late game so you can try and set up for it. Alright, so as you can see, they got a very obvious team fight comp. Jax might do some splitting, but he's going to take a little while longer to amp up just because he's in the jungle. Because he's in the jungle, he's going to get a little bit less gold, he's going to have a little bit less pressure early, and he might be looking for that side lane. But he's going to be looking for that side lane where he won't be able to match the Kled. So he's going to be looking to split a different lane if he does do that. What's going to happen is they're going to look for the team fight with the Maokai engaged, the Orianna, and of course their Rakan engaged too. So basically a lot of team fight over here. And your team, the one you have to work with, has a great amount of pick. If you catch someone out of position with the Kled ult, you can easily run in at them. You've got an okay amount of engage between the Lee Sin being able to insec and the Thresh hook. Vayne is going to be able to deal with the Maokai, also potentially deal with the Jax. And the Zyra's got an alright amount of poke and an alright amount of disengage. But the way you want to play out fights is a little bit weird because of your comp. So Zyra is usually a champion you want to play towards disengage. She's the style of disengage, right? Because the enemy team comes in at you and then you drop down your ult, which essentially zones them. They can't come into your ult or else they'll get knocked up. So that kind of separates their tanks. What your fights kind of want to be is you either want to look for a counter engage, and where you're at the start of the fight just trying to peel for the Vayne and the Zyra, you know, keep their problem champions off of your carries, like the Jax, keep them off of your carries, and just kind of let them engage and then peel with the Zyra ult and then look to re-engage it. The second way you kind of want to look for fights is if you find someone out of position between rotations, like you find a numbers advantage, your Kled can force engages really easily with his speed up and stuff. Um, so the Kled's going to be trying to manage a side wave. You're going to have to keep an eye on the Jax for scaling, and you're going to want to look for fights where you're going to kind of counter engage. Use the Zyra to disengage, and then look for the second engage. Like keep them inside Zyra ult, where their plants are going to be doing shit tons of damage. You're not going to be able to siege too much into an Orianna. You don't have enough poke, and you don't have enough range to really deal with towers. So you're going to really be relying on these rotations where you got the Kled to go in, or you know, you still do have pick potential with your hooks and stuff. So you can always look for the pick, but you're going to really need rotations this game. You don't have a whole lot of siege. They've got a pretty good amount of wave clear, and especially zoning. The biggest issue with Orianna isn't that she can clear waves, it's that the ball's right next to the wave she's clearing, so it's right next to you. So you can't generally push into an Orianna very fast or easily. You do, however, have a very easy time of rotating lanes and going into the Maokai. So if you do press a lead and you get a lead bottom, because the laning phase should be pretty, not necessarily even, but it shouldn't go badly, poorly, whatever. And then you rotate up top and take this tower. So start bottom, rotate top, and then you would be looking to play with probably play between bottom and mid, maybe even look for Herald, something like that. That would be your early-ish game plan. Based off of who's getting fed and what kind of vision control you have, you might even be able to start pressuring the Jax out of his own jungle because he doesn't have a very strong early. And that's all just early strategy. Alright, so now we're into the game. This is stuff that like I really think everyone should be thinking about at the start of a game. You know, your plan. And your plan right now is how you're going to win, right? This is the freest time to think about things. Before the game even really starts. I like how you're out here early. You have a little bit of kind of meh vision, but I don't think they're going to invade on you. They got a kind of weak level 1 invade compared to your level 1. That's fine. Whenever you going down to lane, you okay, hang on. Level 1's really important, so I'm gonna make sure I rewatch this and actually pay attention. But whenever you're going to lane, yeah, you need to make sure you stay with your carry. So it was good that you kind of waited and picked where they were walking to. So level 1 is really important because this decides where the wave is going to end up, and where you're going to hit level 2, and who's going to hit level 2 first. If you properly manage the level 1 wave, you're going to have it set up where you hit level 2 about here, right? Just barely ahead of them, like 1 or 2 minions ahead of them. And so they can't contest your level 2, but at the same time, you guarantee that it's first, and you have enough of the lane left over to pressure your level 2. But you're going to also have to be very careful with their level 2 and their wave clear potential. So your level 1, I would be looking to auto the wave a little bit. I'd be starting with the casters. Just throw down like 3 autos or something like that, so that way you can force this push. Because if Xayah Qs this wave, it's already equalized. One of the tricks to last hitting minions with your Targons is if you ping the one you're going for, your AD won't waste their auto like that. You could have ensured that you got all 3 of those minions. That's a really minor thing. And here's a big problem, actually. You have completely, at this point, conceded level 2. You see the minions, that there are 3 of them here and there's only 2 over here. And the way that you're playing, you have completely conceded level 2. You're giving it up to them, which is ruining a potential power spike. If you look at this wave, you make this decision. It's not a conscious decision, but it is a decision. From that moment, right once you hit that minion, you're done. You're not even aiming for these, not aiming for the casters, not aiming for the Xayah. And if you're thinking about it, right, the Xayah's already used her Q. She's already used her one ability. She's level 1. And the Rakan's way over here. This is actually, if you started Flay, a window that you could even go into trade on the Xayah. Right here, you're conceding level 2 by backing off of the wave, and you don't recognize a chance you can go aggressive. The Rakan is very far away. If you started, even if you fucking started Shield, you can still go in because of the ridiculous meta that is now, oh, okay, you don't have double Targons. Interesting. Well, that's fine. But you could generally sustain that back up with Fleet Footwork and Targons. If the trade goes kind of poorly. It also will let you regain wave control. And you always, as an AD, or rather as a support, want to trade onto their AD carry because you have more potions than they do. This is 150 free health, right? You have 150 free health on those potions, and this one's only 125. You have 200 more health than this Xayah. Do you know how much 200 health is? Right now, that is like that's like 40% of her life. That's like 40% of her life. So you have 40% of her health if you just started trading away at this. Just advantage. Just before it even really goes. A sustained fight, you have 40% more health. So you always want to look for these trades onto the enemy AD carry. You're conceding the level 2, you're backing off the wave, you don't recognize aggression, and you don't know what your priorities are as support because you want to look for this trade. You only go for your soul, and do you see how much respect she gave you? She knows you could have gone in on her here because her support's fucking up here. And you only go for the soul and you back off. You don't recognize these windows. She doesn't have her root. She's level 1. You don't have to walk around those feathers. Yeah, this is just an extension of the wave management thing. You're not helping with the wave at all. You're not giving any zoning pressure. You don't know where your advantage is. And because of that, like I said, they're going to hit level 2 first. And remember how I told them, ideally, you want to hit it right here? This is exactly where they wanted to hit it, and you let this happen. Partially because you weren't autoing the wave. This entire, past, I don't know, 20 seconds, you haven't been doing anything with the wave. So you let them hit this 2 first and watch what happens. You flay them away. Okay, never mind. They don't go in on this. They should have gone in on that. Alright. So not much is happening now that you're both level 2. You're not looking to trade, and that is a problem. Whenever you're not looking to trade like this, you're just waiting for something to happen, and you're never going to create an advantage yourself. You're waiting for an advantage to happen. And one of the cool things about like playing like okay, yeah, whenever you're playing support, right? Vision control is one of the most important things you can do. And vision control is something that's kind of unique because you don't always need it, especially not in solo queue. You can generally, for like the first 12 minutes of the game, predict where the enemy is going to be based off of nothing but the clock. And I go over this in kind of like every review because tracking the enemy jungler is really important. A standard clear ends the junglers up at topside between 2.5 minutes and 3 minutes, and they're looking to gank top or mid between 3 minutes and 3.5 minutes normally. Um, so this is the window when the enemy jungler should not be anywhere fucking near bottom, and you can go aggro. So this is a chance that you can play aggro and create your lead before you have any influence from anything else. What you need to be looking for to create leads is, of course, there's a lot of little things that go into it, and I'll just go real quick over like the big three. The big three are whenever the enemy AD carry is going to last hit, right? The enemy AD carry is going to last hit. You know that you can auto attack them or engage on them or whatever. You can look to go in on them because you know that they're either going to choose to last hit that minion or choose to auto you. That's where you can create a small lead. Another thing is cooldowns. If you see the Rakan used his dash and he misses, obviously you want to counter engage, right? That's something that you need to look for. But level 1, whenever the Xayah used her Q, you obviously weren't paying attention to cooldowns because you were not going in on that. You weren't looking for that. And the third thing usually is an AD carry way of trading, but I'll go into a different way of trading for you. The third thing you want to look for is positioning. Positioning is like level 1. Whenever I said the Rakan was up here, you weren't looking to trade in, and it's because they couldn't both go in on you. If they really wanted to trade, only one person could trade on you. The other person was further away and would have to show up to the fight. That gives you like 2 seconds. That's like 2 autos. That's like 150 damage, which is a whole potion, which is what I was saying earlier. Like that's essentially like 30% of their life. 30% of their life before the other person even shows up. And whenever you start adding up these little trades, you start winning the lane. With what you're doing, you're just waiting for something to happen, which isn't a very good way of playing any role, because you're just either waiting to get carried or waiting to lose. You need to be looking for proactive ways to create small advantages so that way, whenever something does happen, you're in a better position to use it. Now you're autoing the wave, and it's because you're looking for 3, I guess? Yeah, so let's look back at that. This is a good example. So what you're doing over here with the minions is exactly the first window of whenever I'm telling you to trade onto their AD carry. Whenever you're going to, let's say, last hit to push this wave, right? The Xayah can trade on you for free. Watch what she does. Watch what happens to your health. Right here, you are essentially going for last hits. You're just going to shove this wave. And the Xayah goes to hit you once, right? Very simple, very easy. Little bit of damage, little bit of damage. You go back to do this. Okay, you keep doing this. Now keep watching. This is you going for last hits, right? It's not really what's happening, but okay, well, it's a lot slower than what I made it out to be. But you're still last hitting, and look what happened to your health. That's like 20% of your health. 20% of your health for free. That's the window. That's free damage. All right. So you see Jack's top side, and this is what I was talking about. 3 minutes to 3.5 minutes looking to gank. Here he is, look, right? Just like what I said. Lee Sin's also top side, so that gives a little bit further, proof. This wave's in an okay spot to recall. You want to counter engage that. Whenever the Rakan went in, you should have stayed and you should have gone in on that. That would have been not necessarily a free kill, but it would have given you a lane advantage, and instead you lost the lane advantage. Because since you recalled and the Vayne did not, Vayne's going to be behind items and with when she needs to recall. And she's behind health now too. See? This is because you recalled early, which you weren't looking for windows to trade. Now she's down both sums, and now she's recalling at a bad time. See? You should have stayed for that. Whenever you're looking at those cooldowns, second window to trade, right? Second window to trade, it was right in front of you and you didn't go for it. If you had played your play correctly, he also would not have been able to shield out. Yeah, that was a very poor decision over here. All right. So I told you the window when the jungler should be ganking top, right? 3 minutes to 3.5 minutes, or 3 minutes to 3.5 minutes. That's when the jungler is mid, whatever, right? That's whenever he's on this side of the map. Well, generally, 4.5 minutes is whenever you can expect the jungler on a standard clear to be coming for your ass bottom. Now, if you look at this example, Lee Sin is coming down here because the enemy lane is pushed. Jax is a lot slower because he doesn't care because Vayne isn't here. There's nothing that's going to happen bottom at this second. But there is going to be a potential play in a minute, right? But in this minute, Vayne has no summoners because what happened earlier. So you're at a disadvantage whenever you go into this gank, and that was a disadvantage that was set up by one of your decisions over here. It still could work out, but it's a disadvantage. Okay, whenever you're doing something like this is a great idea to go for this play, but you needed to ping. You needed to ping assist me for the Lee because the Lee decided to leave. And if you had pinged him to stay, he would have come and this would have been a very free kill. But instead, there's a potential of a death here now on your side because he's not going to be able to show up for a few seconds even if he wanted to. And you're down summoners. Yeah, you're not watching the map, you're not using your pings, you don't know windows to trade, and your decision for that recall play has been really costly. Look at this disadvantage in health now. You don't want to look into this. There's no reason to go into this right now. You're down summoners, you're down health, you lost one of your important cooldowns to hook a minion. You don't want to be looking into that. The way they were playing, I'd imagine the Jax is down here. No, he's not. Okay, they were just baiting by themselves. A little bit of mechanical problems. Nothing that's really bad. Whenever you're playing Thresh, it makes it easier to hit your hook if you start with your flay. You should try and do that. Add that to your playbook, because you've missed a couple of hooks now. If you walk up to them and you flay them and then you hook, you'll have a much easier time. You're looking for these longer engages, and they're going to be a bit harder for you to set up because and a lot less consistent for you to set up, judging by your mechanics. Your mechanics, if you just walk up to them and flay them, you'll see that that plays a lot easier and you're going to have a lot more consistent engages. Right now, the Vayne has no items, and the Xayah, if you see her recall, she has BF. You want to push this in as fast as you can and just recall so the Vayne can get items. That's what's going to happen. Yeah. You're down items. You're down items. You're not respecting items now too. Um, and that was because of your recall timer earlier partially. Didn't really play into that in a huge way, but it did play into that. So far, you don't know windows to trade. You waste spells on the wave and then still go in, which means you don't know how to engage. You don't use your pings, which means you're not going to get your jungler to come and help you, even whenever he was in a very good position to come and help you. Um, I don't think you're tracking the enemy jungler too much. You're not using your wards, but if your wave has been in a fine position to not use your wards so far, you're not respecting items or recalls, and you're leaving your AD carry alone. You don't understand advantages with items or with summoners. You're still looking for these engages. Oh, and your level 2 needs a lot of work. If you fix your level 2, you'll see at least a lot earlier leads, and earlier leads snowball. That was a good play, but as I said, it's the consistency that matters. All right. Good job. Good job. You got some nice hooks in there. Um, maybe you're not going to have to do the flay thing. Maybe that was maybe this was a fluke, maybe the other thing was a fluke, but now it looks like you got like a 50% hook rate, which is pretty good. This wave is in a very bad spot. It's going to slow push into their turret, and it might even be, yeah, yeah. But I don't think there was a whole lot you could have done there. If you had pushed that wave in, it would have all crashed on their turret, but they could have potentially stopped your recall. All right. I'm not counting exactly how many hooks, but that was another missed hook. If this is your ward, this is a good ward, but I would have warded further on the lane, not just right here. Because whenever you originally came to lane, you would have been able to push it further in. Alright. You're going for the Rakan a lot. I would be aiming more towards the Xayah. Rakan has more disengage. He has more mobility. And if you're hooking him in, he can also use that as a way to engage. Xayah should not have her ult just yet. See, her cooldown's still going, which means that she has like no disengage. I think that you just look for hooks whenever you can on whatever target you see. That was weird. Guardian pops on that? I didn't know that was possible. That was a good execution. If you had your shield over here, you might have been able to survive another auto attack, but she did have stopwatch, so she would have been able to survive an extra turret hit. What you did was fine. Okay. Um, just staying concerned about your own lane here is fine. But again, you're going for this Rakan consistently, all the time, 100% of the time. And do you see what kind of happens here? Your Vayne has no health because they're trading on the Vayne. The Rakan has no health because you're trading onto the Rakan. But the Xayah is able to stay on the wave because she still has a lot of health. So your Vayne was looking to recall. Their Xayah is looking to stay. This is an example of like a disadvantage that kind of stacks up. Whenever you consistently trade onto their support, it doesn't fucking matter if the support recalls because he's not trying to get CS, he's not trying to get gold. The Xayah stays. And in your case, you would stay because they're always trading onto the Vayne. Whenever you go in, they always trade onto the Vayne. You need to look for their AD carry more. Rakan is not squishy. Look at that, again towards the Rakan. You're very slow to react to this gank. Very slow. You shouldn't have had anyone die there. Whenever people are slow to react to ganks, the reason I believe it happens is you're not watching the minimap. You need to watch the minimap. Because you should have seen that coming. Okay, let me watch this. Okay, I'm not going to go over my typical dragon rant here. I rant a lot about dragons. This is fine. It starts off pretty well too, so it's not really worth ranting about right now. You showing up to this fight is a pretty good idea, but your positioning is a little bit meh. And the Zyra, for some reason, runs completely in. I don't know why the Zyra is melee. You don't have to be on their face to go in, and because you were on their face, you're able to get engaged on. You could have played that fight a lot further back, and so could the Zyra. It looked like you both disconnected there, to be honest. So you got to work on that. Whenever you're playing someone like Thresh, Thresh is not a tank early. Do you see your build, right? Your build is Moby Boots, 150 health and 450 health. So you have 600 extra health. That is your build, and I think you just bought the armor. So I'm going to pretend you just bought the armor. 600 health, just bought the armor, and Maokai's build, if you want to look at Maokai, right? Let's see what he has. Well, I guess you have similar builds. All right, I guess you have similar builds. Maybe the only difference is levels then. But you generally don't want to play frontline tank Thresh this early into a game. You want to be waiting until... Wow, it actually is much further on than I thought. Okay, that makes sense then why I was behind in items. I'm not paying attention to the clock. Alright, yeah. Never mind. Oh, I thought it was like 10 minutes into the game. It's because I'm fast forwarding. Okay. You need to start worrying a little bit about vision control at this point. What's going to happen is you're going to have the Vayne continue to split, right? And you're going to want to look for a rotation potentially mid with either your Vayne continuing to split by herself and you look for this roam, or the Vayne to rotate over with you while their bot lane is catching this wave. In order to do that, you're going to need two wards. One ward here and one ward here. With those two wards, this ward in the tri-brush and this ward in the lane over here, and you looking for this rotation, right? You're able to secure Vayne split push and also will let you know whenever they're going between mid and bottom, so it secures your rotation. Two wards, these are very important wards. This will set up the play that I'm talking about. You do not want to stick with your Vayne anymore when she's in this side lane. Let her do her thing. It's a Vayne. If it was a Jinx, yes, you got to stick with her. If it was a Callista, there's a chance you have to stick with her. So right here, let Vayne just play her lane and start looking for your roam on this. If you roam with the Lee, Orianna's probably dead and you probably have a tower. Look to create your lead somewhere else. Give the Vayne the XP and the farm by herself. Let her play by herself right now. It's just not a lane you really need to be in. You're not going to impact it too much. She gets out. They even burn exhaust. I think that the Vayne kept everything. Whenever they're like this and they're pushing this far, this means that you should call for your jungler again. Use your pings. Right here, with how far they are, you're not actually behind in lane. See, 2 kills to 2 kills, right? Call your jungler, get him to gank this because they're really overextended. You shouldn't be this extended as a bot lane. If you are, it means the enemy team needs to punish you. So how do you get your team to punish them? Call for your team. Use your pings. Use your pings. Yeah, your Sightstone still has 3 wards on it. Keep that in mind. Your Sightstone still has 3 wards, and you have a pink ward in your inventory, right? This isn't your pink ward, but because of this fight, right, you know where everything's happening because you have some zombie wards out here, right? But I don't think these are yours because you don't have your Sightstone wards out. And that means that you need to be focusing a little bit more on warding. It wouldn't have changed this fight. I just wanted to look at that. This fight, the reason you lose it is because there are 5 enemies here, and your team had 3. And then one of them ran away in a different direction anyways. See? Lee Sin just runs away. This means you need to work on your counting. Counting is something you guys pick this fight, you choose to go in, and you see that Lee chooses to go out. You could have potentially just let the Lee die here and been ready to play with 2 people and the Zyra under tower. It would have still been a 3v5, but at least you have a tower, which basically is another person. So it would have been a 4v5, and you could potentially win that. Alright, but what happens here is you choose this fight, you engage it, you hook, you look into it, and you're not counting. You're playing an engaged champion, and you're not counting. Counting you do two ways every time before you pick a fight. The first way you count is what is the maximum amount of people for the enemy team that could be there. To do this, you look at your minimap and you say, where's the Maokai? Have I seen Jax recently? Where's the Orianna? All right, well, I don't know where any of them are if you're looking at the lanes, which means 5 could potentially be here. You only see 4, but you know potentially it could be 5. So 5 is your first number. The first way you count says 5. The second way you count is what is the minimum amount of people on your team that can show up to this. The minimum amount is 3. Because Zyra's way over here, and she doesn't even look like she's coming to it. But you don't know that look on off the minimap, right? The minimap, she's just over here, which she's going to be really slow to show up to this, and it's probably going to get zoned out because of where she is. Minimum is 3. So 3v5 whenever you count. Don't look into this. You don't want this fight. It's a terrible fight. Now, I just wanted to highlight something and say this is actually a very good play by you. What you do to respond to pressure like this, this is a really good thing just to know as a whole, but is exactly what the Kled is doing. Now, the Kled didn't base and come to this because, for starters, he knew you were going to be down members. You were going to be down numbers. It would have been 3 people versus 5, right? So the Kled did not base. The Kled decided to keep pushing. You respond to pressure that you can't match with pressure of your own. What Kled is doing now is he's creating pressure. He's creating a lot of pressure, and you just killed 2 people with what you did, and you're running these fools down, right? But you're running these fools down mostly so they just can't recall. Even if you both die here, right? They're not going to get a turret. You're risking nothing to do this, because really the only point of kills is to make it so you can get an uncontested objective. The only point of kills is an uncontested objective. It gives you money, gives you XP, but what does that do? It helps you win the next fight. And what does winning the next fight do? It gives you uncontested objectives. It gives you uncontested barons, turrets, inhibitors, nexuses. It gives you the game uncontested. That's what kills do. So what you're doing here is you're potentially dying for this, but they're not going to get anything because the wave's further away. You got people respawning. The maximum amount of people that could stay for this is like 2, because Rakan sure as shit isn't going to stay. So you could hold that turret up here. You're risking nothing to do this, and you could potentially get something. So this is a really smart play. It's important to always think about that, though. Like, could they... The reason that's a smart play is, could they take this turret if you died? What are the chances that you die? The chances that you died in that fight over here were like 10%, really low. Maybe not even existent. But you don't always want to chase down so that you can secure this turret, because if you secure this turret, but you both, everyone died and then they were able to get this inhibitor, obviously that isn't worth it. So it's not always worth doing what you just did, but I'm pointing out that that was a very, very good play. That was also a very good rotation mid. Now, I'm going to take a second here to tell you about the win conditions I pointed out earlier. Jax was not going to split push early, but he was going to look for that side lane later. This is what's happening. Jax on the side and this, right? Predictions to see where things were going to be. And the Kled probably would be able to kill the Jax by himself at this point, but having 2 people top isn't necessarily bad for that, but it is bad for this. You know they're going to be looking for the 4-man team fight, and that's kind of what happens over here. That's how you end up dying. And it's just because of this overstay. You also look for the hook constantly. You could have just walked out. This is the point where you're not recognizing your win condition. You know they want the 4-man team fight. You know they want this team fight, So you shouldn't have been looking for the four-man team fight because you had the Kled up here and you had the Lee Sin up here, and they were both going for the Jacks. The Kled could have come mid, though, but you needed a kite up to him. You could have lanterned back and walked up and avoided this fight, but you picked this fight looking for the four-man versus three-man. This is, again, your decision over here. Your decision, like the recall timer, this is a poor decision. So your judgment is a mixed bag. Now they could get Baron if they wanted to, but Jax dies, so they don't want to, and they're just going to get a turret. So yeah, you gave up a turret with that engage play, and that was because you weren't understanding your win condition. You weren't understanding, rather, their win condition. You didn't know what they wanted to do, which is why you took that engage, because you thought it was just going to be two people. That's why you were looking to the side, right? But no, it was four. They were looking for the four, and it was obvious because that's part of their condition. This is a really great call to be over here on this side of the map. There's no way you can do Baron being that low, but it was a good idea. Realistically, you should have been able to play that out a bit better and make it so that way you got the kills without getting that low, but it wasn't terrible. Yeah. That fight was just a good follow-up from the the earlier stuff. It was just follow-up. This is all just follow-up. This is good follow-up, though. I don't know how much of this is your decision-making. Oh, this is your decision-making? I would have just taken one and rushed Baron. If you had stayed on this inhibitor, you could have rushed Baron afterwards, but you're giving them a chance to do Baron, and that's really bad. They're going to be able to set up and do Baron here. That was your shot calling. That was your decision 100%. Yeah, okay. So you gave up a Baron. Your team fighting's okay. It's just that you had this disadvantage of at the start of it. Okay, and you know, you didn't end up giving up a Baron, so your team fighting's pretty good. You do have this going on, though, which isn't very good. And there's nothing you could have done about this. Going to Baron was the correct play. And you also got that going on over here. Come on, minions, hit the right thing. Come on, minions. Alright, there we go. Look at that super. Good stuff. Walking over to the dragon is completely pointless. You want to be going over to Baron. You got to ping the Vayne to Baron. This is worthless. This is a terrible decision. Never do this. If Baron is up and Dragon is up and you have the chance to get an uncontested objective, because look where all of them are and look how fast you did that, that means you do fucking damage, which means you could have been doing that fucking damage to Baron. I really don't care about dragons, but I do care a lot about Barons. So you need to be walking over to the Baron and doing that. You could have definitely gotten this. Could have definitely gotten this. Alright. So your objective focus needs to prioritize Baron a lot more. From just things like warding it, I haven't seen you come over to this side of the map to ward it, but then again, I haven't really seen you ward it all. These wards are all dead, which means that last time you were over here, or rather these two are dead, it means the last time you were over here, you didn't put down any wards. You need to ward a lot more, and there are a couple of key places that I pointed out for rotations, right? These two are very useful. But during your lane, you're not putting out very good wards for avoiding ganks, and you're not putting out very good wards for like lane control. If that was your ward that was near the front, you needed to put it near the back. Simple things like that. If you had the opportunity to, you should have done it. But you have no control over here. And I don't even know where you put your pink ward down because it's already dead. And if it's dead, that means you buy another one. That's the rule. That's the rule I support. If it's dead, you buy another one. And yeah. Your build is pretty good. I actually really like this build. It's Moby's on Thresh is very useful and stuff. This is a very good build. Your build isn't a problem. The problem is that you don't use your Stone. And you need to buy a pink ward. Your decision making with the Baron needs a lot of work too. So let's see. I'm guessing that they just take a bad fight in the future because you said you won this. Yeah, there you go. You should have always been looking for the Xayah. That was a good engage. Alright. I think you just won there. Yeah, you just won there. Okay, so your problems. You don't use your level 2. You don't use your level 2 at all. You don't know how to manage the wave for it. You don't know how to pressure it. You don't know how to trade. I went over the big 3. Go back and watch that section if you want to know that again. There are more things to it than that, like minions and stuff, but I'm not going to go into all of that this game. Start on those 3. You also need to work a lot more on your warding, especially Baron focus. Your shot calling when it comes to Baron, it needs a lot of work too. You don't ping at all. You're laning early. You just kind of wait for things to happen. Then you look for a lot of hooks. Try the flay hook. I don't know how consistent your hooks are, but it's like 50%. If you flay hook, it'll be like 80%. Um, your rotations are actually okay. I'm not sure how much of that was just following your team, but your rotations are pretty solid. Um, your your team fights are pretty solid. Got to buy more pink wards and get them out there. Uh, yeah, you need to do more counting whenever you're looking for engages. You need to be able to give up some objectives like the dragon after that. Maybe you shouldn't have shown up for this. I think that I would have still, but you know, it didn't go too well with your positioning. That was the only fight that I really had trouble with your positioning. Yeah, yeah. Using those trade windows, trading onto the right people, knowing how to count. Not, I don't mean to say that in a mean way. I mean my 2 ways of counting, and your vision control are going to help you a lot. Baron control is something that you need to put into your playbook, and then you need to look at your minimap. All of those things are very, very important, and you can work on all of those. Um, the minimap thing is how slowly you responded to the gank over here. You also need to be a little bit more respectful with your recall timer. Whenever you kind of let the Vayne stay and you blew both of her summoners for just you to recall, you should have stayed for that. Alright, well that's the end of this video. I see in the future that you just kind of close out this game. So, alright, I hope some of this was helpful, and good luck, my dude.